Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and Iron here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Roby, and MScribe, and today we're going to be talking about a little thing called Jubilee.
Yeah, the Jubilee. Whatever that is.
Good
whatever
name.
that means.
Good X-Men name, too.
I guess. You came in like already thrilled because you have some pre-context to that word.
X-Men?
No, Jubilee.
What's the pre-context?
I don't know. You brought up X-Men. I assume that's like part of the movie lore or something.
Yeah, it's a name of an X-Man.
There you go. So you're already excited just because. I was not aware of that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Come on, dude.
I don't know what the heck a Jubilee means, but in the Ordinals space, it has significant meaning.
Yeah, we're not talking about X-Men today.
We're not talking about X-Men, fortunately.
All right. All right, so we're looking at Ordinals wallet and everything you need to know about the Ordinals BRC20 protocol update, undergoing its upgraded called the Jubilee, which causes previously cursed inscriptions to become uncursed, and a bunch of other things like multiple child inscriptions off of a single transaction, so bulk inscription for children.
Okay.
And metadata.
Yeah.
And so that's just among the few of the updates.
Yeah, I mean, really, Jubilee is supposed to be like Ordinal's actual coming out party.
Yeah.
Like we've been kind of like in testnet the last year.
Yeah.
Ever since Casey deployed Ordinals. And this is going to be like, theoretically, hopefully, like the last major update. I'm assuming moving past post-Jubilee.
Yeah.
These incremental updates are going to have much more like of a wider gap to them, so there's not so much like indexer chaos in
correct.
the ecosystem, right?
Yeah, so this is largely the quote-unquote 1.0 update, meaning it's the full release of Ordinals to the ecosystem.
Yeah, so as you can imagine, so there's been some drama leading up to this, I guess, which is why the main discussions happening right now are around BRC20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right, because that's where most of the drama has kind of like stemmed from. It's like, hey, are we going to honor this Jubilee upgrade and like adjust our indexers to support such things?
Yeah.
Or do we not?
Yeah, so let me see if I can explain this in a, pretty simply. So let me just go through some of the stuff here by Ordinals wallet, because they do a good job explaining it.
All right, good luck, dude.
The Jubilee has serious implications for BRC20. If BRC20 were to upgrade with Ord, but change nothing about how BRC20 tokens are indexed, it would cause a big mess in the market, with previously invalid transfer inscriptions suddenly becoming invalid, or suddenly becoming valid, I should say. So all these invalid transfer inscriptions, if you do nothing and you upgrade to the Ord client, they become valid. And so now your balances are all of a sudden a lot higher than they should be, or a lot lower than they should be. And that's a problem, right? You can't mess with people's balances because it's over, right? Right. Yeah. You lose trust, and it's like everything falls apart. Yeah. So that's why there's this discussion on whether or not projects should upgrade or not. Because if you upgrade, you got to re-index everything. And because the way you index the BRC20s post-Jubilee is different than pre-Jubilee.
So do you think there's going to be a period then where, because if you go to Unisat right now, there's like a big like red message on the wallet that never used to be there, where it's like the current version of this is no longer supported. To ensure the security of your assets, upgrade to a new version. I'm assuming this new version is their preparation stage, I guess, for like supporting this new indexing. Well, potentially
it could be, but it could just be a software update to the wallet itself.
I've never seen this message before. I'm assuming this is like directly correlated to this, because Unisat is coming out now saying they're in full support of Jubilee, which is like you're saying, they're gonna have to re-index everything. So if you kind of operate under this older model, I'm assuming you're maneuvering your assets under like a previous indexing scheme, which is you could lead to what you're saying, like improper balance.
Yeah, so they talk about it here. So if BRC20 freezes at an old version of Ord, which was the original plan.
Yeah, we made a video about that like 3 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed
freeze.
It was like like an orchestrated effort, I guess. It felt like, and the conversations and such were in the space like, this feels kind of like collusion in a sense, very cartel-esque behavior. It's like, hey, let's kind of fork away the existing infrastructure of BRC20s and implement our own, I guess, feature additions to it outside of what it is Casey and like the base protocol is doing. Call it our own or something, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of contention in the community around that, but
There was.
yeah.
And now, all of a sudden, now they're supporting the Jubilee update, which, we're going to go further here. So if BRC20 upgrades with Jubilee, someone has to make the protocol changes, and Unisat Wallet has come out to take responsibility for that. Unisat built the indexer protocol in the first place, so it makes sense that they would take the reins on this. However, the creator of BRC20 Domo data, as well as other, have come out in opposition to this. They think the protocol should wait to upgrade while they figure out how it should move forward. Others are upset that the changes come from a centralized source with closed source indexing. The reality is that's where Unisat goes. The reality is that where Unisat goes, the liquidity follows. So you have these two ideologies, right? Let's stick with the old stuff because it works, or let's follow the new stuff. Even though it doesn't mess with BRC20, the new stuff doesn't mess with BRC20. You can still have the same balances in the new kind of like style. It's just you have to make a lot of updates and a lot of upgrades. Yeah. So if the new stuff called Jubilee doesn't really affect BRC20, like child inscriptions and metadata, like which it doesn't, then why not just stick with the old stuff, right? Why mess with it, right? Because if you mess with it, you're introducing errors, right? Potential errors where balances could conflict, right? So now, if you're Unisat, you're like, okay, we could do those two things, right? We can support Jubilee on like a fork or a split or whatever they call it, and we could support the old BRC20 style of indexing. Yeah. The problem is that if you do it right and you support Jubilee and everything is correct, the same balances on one split will equal the same balances in Jubilee. So then you would be supporting two like paths, two streams, but you don't need to. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, let's just support Jubilee, make sure everything is right, and then we could just throw away the old stuff, like, because it's not needed.
And then what, just ignore, like, all these unnecessary components, I guess, of Jubilee or the Ord 1.0?
Yeah, just ignore them for BRC20.
Which I think is what, yeah.
So now you have a system that supports, like, child inscriptions, bulk child inscriptions, metadata. You can support new stuff happening within the Ord wallet as Unisat and still support BRC20 at the same time with the same system.
That seems like the way to definitely go. If I was running an indexer, period, just to have the more flexibility. Yeah, I'm Unisat. Obviously, the large liquidity base on my platform is centered around BRC20s. But now I have, because I made this conscious decision to support all of the umbrella of Ordinals, like now I can pivot in any direction if I want.
That's right. It's a good business decision.
Like those BRC420s out there, there's metadata components to them potentially, all this stuff. Like, at some point that market might blossom. I might want to slurp some of that action.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a good move overall, just from like a business standpoint alone, outside of supporting the ethos of the community and the developers and not creating more fragmentation and siloing.
Yeah,
and stuff.
This is what I've been saying.
That's the ugly stuff
the whole time. Is like, why just not support the latest Ordinals wallet? Like, it's not intended to conflict with the BRC20 balances. It's not intended for that. Now, if it does conflict, then you got a real problem. Yeah. But the whole idea is to make progress. Yeah. Right. And so to go against that just seems odd, right?
Yeah, it would have been a bad look overall. I guess from an outside looking in perspective, is like, man, there's a lot of like fragmentation of consensus among that Ordinals space, right? Like that's not a good look. That's not gonna be what attracts new developers to come in and
100%
build new value, right? And we need to have consensus overall. So looks like we're finally getting to that point. There's a few weeks leading up to this where it's like, oh man, there's gonna be like multiple forks in the road. Yeah, moving ahead. It's like which one do we choose, dude? Luckily we're not going there.
Yeah, so Bob Bodley comes in and says, Jubilee is going to cause all sorts of mayhem on Ordinals and BRC20. As a user, you're going to need to be careful when you're sending Ordinals or BRC20 across wallets or marketplaces because they may support different versions of Ord, and you could lose your assets.
Yeah, that's scary.
As a marketplace, wallet, or indexer provider, you need to be aware that running different versions of Ord can open your tools up to double spend attacks and cause loss of funds for your users. So be careful, everyone, and buckle up. The Jubilee is going to be amazing and will hopefully be the final upgrade of Ord impacting the indexer. finally giving us some stability, but it's not without its challenges.
Yeah.
All right, creator. Okay, so now we're gonna. So yeah, and then this is just Chain Racing Club here. The future is soon. OKEx is to support the BRC20 Jubilee upgrade. I mean, this is what I expected.
Is it?
I was more surprised that people were like, "No, we're not going to upgrade. We're gonna stick with old stuff."
Yeah, I think everybody was a little surprised by that.
Yeah.
But it's good. So we again, it's a little bit of drama leading up to these, points and inflection moments, I guess, during this like overall ecosystem maturation. We've seen this already happen a few times in this ordinal space over the last year. So
yeah,
this is part of it. We're actually witnessing a real ecosystem mature in real time.
That's right.
You got to go through these pain points, right? And everybody's kind of like finding this homeostasis, right?
Yeah, it was just interesting. The Unisat wallet, just a few months ago, it was like November or something, where they're saying, yeah, we're sticking with an old version.
Yeah, I know.
And then we have a tweet here a few weeks later. It says, we're going to follow the Jubilee upgrade to confirm that BRC20 is still on Ordinals without splitting into an isolated protocol.
Yeah. That's good. They must have watched our videos, dude. I would think.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we were saying. It's like you don't want to create more fragmentation. It's all about creating like a cohesive alignment among all, the overall ecosystem. Because we've seen this happen in Ethereum world and such. It's not a friendly developer environment when you do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you don't even have a developer environment if there's fragmentation.
Right.
Right. That's why ERC20s exploded, because there was only one ERC20.
Interesting.
All right, so let's take a look at what Domo says. Recognizing the serious implications and valuations involved, I believe rushing these updates in BRC20 is reckless. This disregards their peer indexers and could potentially harm the broader community of BRC20 users. The 0.08 or the 0.8.9 incident highlighted the complexity. So he's highlighting these updates on the Ord wallet caused the imbalances or the wrong balances of your BRC20s.
In the past.
And so no one, including Unisat, including Ordinals wallet, were using these to index BRC20s because it was wrong. And additionally, the timing and pending incentive structure indicates that this isn't just a one-time unilateral technically driven action on the part of Unisat, but part of a considered ongoing strategy to gain control of the protocol.
See, this is where we're
now. This is what we implied in one of our videos, that there was a collective effort to control the BRC20 protocol.
Yeah, and I guess trying to find motivations around that was a little more difficult to kind of like derive, other than, I don't know, we've seen this happen plenty of times before in the past, even though things start out as like a decentralized primitive. There's always going to be actors within the ecosystem that have the largest, usually monetarily driven incentive to kind of, how do I get the most like leverage or the most optimized position within this ecosystem?
Yeah.
And yeah, that tends to happen. Unisat is definitely obviously in that main driver's seat.
They're in control. They're in control because that's where all the eyeballs are, the liquidity, action.
Right. Yeah, and they obviously have plans, to like expand and extend the functionality of BRC20s, right? They've already announced these efforts, these initiatives. So I feel like that would be much more easily achieved if they had more control over, the I guess the base protocol layer itself.
Yeah, but they already have control, right? If they make these updates, since they have the liquidity and the eyeballs, then that's what people are going to be using and doing, right? So they didn't need to fork or anything. They already had it, right? Yeah. You just continue making those updates and you're good.
So ultimately, what's Domo? What was he saying there in this tweet? Like that we shouldn't go for the Jubilee upgrade.
Correct.
For BRC20.
Correct.
He's in the camp of like let's
yeah, because the implications is that if you make the upgrade and there's something wrong, meaning not everybody looked at the code, not everybody found all the bugs.
Okay.
If there's something wrong, your balances are now wrong.
I see. So he's just like advocating for a little bit more like let's slow down, I guess.
Slow down, yeah.
Slow down. Okay. Also with this implication of, the reason why they're not slowing down is there's some sort of there's some long-term strategy afoot. or however you want to label that,
Yeah, and so he plugs L1. So this is like the Layer 1 Foundation. Yeah.
Yeah.
A nonprofit foundation dedicated to ensuring that the BRC20 standard remains free from centralized corporate control is currently maintaining an indexer with the express intent of ensuring the safety of all funds held with BRC20. So here's a possible outcome. Unisat makes the Jubilee update. Your balances on Unisat are the same as if you were pulling the indexing data from Layer 1 Foundation. And if it is the same, then it makes no sense to stick with the old stuff, right? Because that's old.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, if you're only focused on BRC20, then, see, here's the thing. Like, once you update to Jubilee as an indexer, and you start supporting these new functionalities, you have new modules added to BRC20 on top of this Jubilee update, and then maybe there's somebody who comes up with a BRC20 that uses children inscriptions for some reason. It's like, now Unisat can support it, but Layer 1 Foundation cannot. And so if the liquidity is on Unisat, that's what people are going to be doing, right? And then now Layer 1 Foundation indexer is obsolete.
Okay.
So,
having said all that, as of today, like a few hours ago, we've reached a compromise. A great, a great moment in humanities. Whenever there's like bipartisan disagreement, I guess, and whenever somehow we could reach across the aisle and like act.
We don't speak politics here, man.
You know what I mean, though. It's always good to see these types of things, right? Where it doesn't turn into like a bloody coup.
Right.
It's always nice to see.
Yeah, so a few hours of tweeting this by Domo, he tweets another. He says, the agreed path forward, 0.14 Ord version vindications ignored, which this will come up a little bit later, can be enabled in future. Handling for the edge case raised in the vindication PR linked below. Delegation encoding ignored. More to come. Thanks to all that came together to arrive at the solution.
So basically, it's like upgrade and just, like we said, upgrade and just ignore everything that we don't need. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly like you said.
Simple.
Yeah, okay. All right. Sounds good to me, dude. Let's fucking go.
And what's funny is I got to plug Benny here.
Yeah, man.
Benny's been talking about this for months.
Yeah.
It's like there's a group forming.
He has, dude.
It seems like they're trying to take control.
Yeah.
That's why I've built Tap.
Yes.
And over here, we're going to do things right.
Yeah.
And so he called this, and he said, hey, Casey, you know what you should do? You should implement eras. And if you implement eras, now you can sort of decide as an indexer which sort of like slice of like meta protocols are you going to be supporting.
Correct.
And you decide, right, with this concept of eras.
It's just like a formality to adding like organized structure in the event.
It's a formality to formally recognize ignoring parts of an upgrade.
Correct.
Right. And so that's exactly what's happening here. And so what does Benny say? Ignoring Vindicated. So he's ignoring Vindicated, and delegated inscriptions basically means staying with 0.9 in terms of compatibility for some other protocols. No fork required then, which is great. Thank you, Rotormore.
All right, dude. Benny, our Lord.
Dude.
Always at it.
Benny out there scoring threes, dude. With his eyes closed.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. This is ultimately a very like strengthening, I think, position for the Tap ecosystem, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's being led by somebody who has been so at the forefront of like seeing all the mistakes happening and witnessing the collusion occur, and then trying to build like I want to say competing, but I guess an alternative,
that is following the updates and taking advantage of them.
Right.
We're taking advantage of them with NATs.
Correct.
It's a good segue here.
Yeah.
So for those of you asking about NAT, the non-arbitrary token, the first NAT of this DMT framework that we released, NAT is still not indexed by the Tap protocol. As soon as it happens, we do it live.
Yeah, this is from Ordinals wallet. So we've been seeing the, the community on Twitter persistently inquiring like when NATs, and we've been saying Jubilee, like, because this is Benny's decision, and for all this good reason, right? Is to avoid all this
not only that
catastrophe.
Not only that, Benny says, you know what, Will, we gotta wait till Jubilee.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'll do whatever you say because you know more than I do about indexing.
He's like, yes, daddy.
Yeah,
pretty much. It's like, whatever, dude.
Yeah,
it's just you're running the show, Benny.
Yeah,
it's like, it makes sense because.
So yeah, I mean, I said, Benny is like, dude, I trust you. If you have good reason to say, you know what, let's not let anybody do transfer inscriptions because it's going to create a headache. Mm-hmm. It's like, let's not do it, right? Let's just wait for the Jubilee update. Yeah. But it felt like we were the only ones saying that, all right, at the time, about a month ago.
Yeah.
Nobody was waiting for Jubilee for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, within the last couple of days, everybody's upgrading to Jubilee.
Yeah. It is this rush, I guess, of completing their compatibility upgrades.
Yeah.
Like at the fucking buzzard.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then yeah, you're going to contribute to this.
Literally at the buzzard, which is Jubilee's supposed to be updated in about 36 hours.
That's true. In case you didn't know, it's coming up very soon. So that's the reason why now it's like the most prevalent talking point on crypto Twitter, or I guess Ordinal Twitter at the moment. Like all eyes are on BRC20s, Unisat, Domo, Tap, and now NATs. And really everything. Like how's the ecosystem going to kind of move forward past Jubilee?
Yeah, so stay tuned for our NAT video. We're going to go in depth with it tomorrow.
Yeah, that comes out tomorrow.
And we're going to go deep into it. We're going to talk about, the value of a Jubilee update, which is bulk child inscriptions. Yeah, which is a very big deal. I cannot stress how big. We'll find out tomorrow.
What'd you say? The bulk child inscriptions?
Bulk child inscriptions.
Yeah, because you've come up with, and this is the thing. We don't control how this ecosystem is going to manifest, but we get to contribute our positions of like how do you derive new value from non-arbitrary assets, right?
Right.
I think you've come up with some pretty interesting ones.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting.
Yeah, how you can utilize NATs along with already existing, technical components that are being ushered in through the Jubilee. Yeah,
for example, prevents bots.
Right.
It prevents like mining collusion, which we're seeing with Bitmap.
Yeah.
And that's all a result of Jubilee.
Right, and even potentially addressing like creator sustainability or royalty mechanisms into the future and such, which is all like on chain, which is to me one of the more interesting things that we've kind of like dabbled with.
Yeah. Yeah. So stay tuned for tomorrow. We are going to go into details into all of this stuff.
And mscribe updates.
Yeah. And when this Jubilee thing happens, I think you'll be able to trade NATs on Ordinals wallet and on mscribe. So we'll see. All right. More details tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Let us know if we miss anything. Appreciate you, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.